This is the Full and Bloom interview with producer Matt Wallace inside the album Faith No More's Angel Dust. More info at fullandbloom.com. When the guys go in to record Angel Dust, is there a different dynamic in the band?
Yeah, it's a wildly different dynamic because, it's just the band was going to a different direction musically and pushing some boundaries, and they weren't quite in sync. But Jim Martin wasn't quite in sync with them, and so that was a difficult record to make because people were not working together, and it was more about gear grinding in terms of that. I think Jim just was he was just in a different wavelength than the rest of the band, so that's kind of what happened. So that was pretty challenging.
So what happens with Jim? I saw that, I read that it was because he didn't necessarily like the direction of the band, but the direction doesn't seem that off. I know it's different than the real thing, and that it definitely is more Mr. Bungley. Right. Is that what he didn't like about it?
Yeah, I think Jim, I'm speculating, but I think Jim would have gone for the real thing part two and just kind of continued that, to mine that vein of what they did so successfully. But the rest of the band, I know for a fact, really chafed at the idea of being a rap metal group. They really just did not want to have anything to do with that, and did not want to do part two of that at all. And part of it was, and so I think the band was going to a different direction that Jim just didn't get, and it wasn't his cup of tea. And I used to just say, man, we need your heavy guitar. If you bring your heavy guitar in there, it's going to sound more like Faith No More. But he just heard different kind of parts over it that were, just different. Also the fact that his dad died, like a couple, 2-3 weeks before he did the record. And the band and I both said to him, individually and separately, just said, hey, why don't we just take a break and wait for the emotional dust to settle about your dad's death, and we'll come back around, which was tough for me because I'd already slotted out that 2 or 3 months of time, and I would have just been sitting with no work. But I understood that it was a major impact, and Jim basically just told us to fuck off. I was like, nope, don't tell me what to do, and let's just make the record. It's like, and I just think that was a mistake. We should have waited until he was on board 100%, because he really wasn't present for the rehearsals, and he wasn't that present during the recording. It just was. I don't think he was feeling it. I don't think he was feeling the music, or he was dealing with the emotional impact of his father dying.
Is there any story or anything stand out on the Angel Dust sessions?
Just huge, horrible infighting and bickering between the band and Jim Martin. That was like the big thing. They were just on such different, they were just approaching things so much just different. It was still, I still had fun recording guitars with Jim. We'd record and go to the nearby bar and play some pool and back and do more guitars. But he just was, I don't know, it just felt like he just felt the odd man out, and I think his approach was different than we all were kind of anticipating. So that was really the biggest difference. That was the big challenge. They weren't working as a unit, and when you got 20% of your band not quite pulling in the same direction, it just gets to be, it creates quite a bit of friction and creates a drag on the creative process. So, and then of course Roddy had much better sampling keyboards, so he could kind of explore things a lot more than he was able to with the real thing. So he was able to really dive in, and he made a huge library of samples and cool stuff that we ultimately used on the record. So, and there was that, and then Patton also felt himself. The biggest change that Mike Patton was Mike Patton, and he dove in 100%, and he was fully invested, and it was there. And it was the first record. He was there during the actual writing of the song, which he wasn't during the real thing. But Angel Dust, he was there, while the songs were being written, so he had more input. It became much more of a, those guys were more joined at the hip and making a record together, whereas Jim had kind of fallen out. So.
And you guys recorded Angel Dust in San Francisco. What kind of board did you use on that one?
That was a Neve 80-something, 8048 or something like that. It was a Neve console, so that was pretty cool.
And the budget, I'm assuming, jumped on that record?
Yeah, it was definitely more. I don't think it was like crazy like other things, but I think we probably had like $100,000 or $125,000 or something. So yeah, it definitely went up. So we had more time, and we went to 48 track, and we spent a lot more time on that record because we were trying all this esoteric and unique kind of musical approaches. So yeah, we definitely spent much more time on that record, I think, I'd say at least another month getting that record done.
So it took about 3 months to make?
I think so, three and a half, something like that.
I still remember reading an interview that Mike Patton did with Spin Magazine during the success of The Real Thing, but I think just prior to Angel Dust, and he's like talking all about jerking off and that he'd rather jerk off than even be with a woman. Do you think that kind of stuff might have limited their success overall?
It may have limited their success with a certain group of their audience, but I think it really increased it with another part of their audience, because I think Patton was the first time ever that I can ever recollect that a guy in a band who could get laid with pretty much anyone there at the show just put into print saying, I would rather jerk off than be with someone I don't know. And to me, that was as bold a statement as opposed to singing in lyrics. And I think it was absolutely, I think that was one of the boldest things I've ever heard a rock singer ever say. Because, all the other guys are like, dude, you can get laid with anybody you want to, and you're going to go home and jerk off. He's like, yeah, because I don't want to be with someone I just don't know, I mean, it was really, that to me was one of those groundbreaking statements I've ever heard a lead singer in a rock band ever make, Like, because all the other heavy metal hair bands, like, yeah, we get laid like 3 times a night and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It said this whole machismo thing. And Patton's like, no, I'm just not into that. That just does not appeal to me. That's not what I'm looking for. I think Patton was searching for something different. His perspective is so unique. He wanted something different. He wanted something more genuine, and not just random sex with someone you don't even know. I mean, physically, sure, that's a good idea. It makes a lot of sense. Most of us, that sounds great. But for him, he's like, no, I want something different. I want something more. I want something genuine. I want something that's got some lasting value to it. And I think that was seriously one of the biggest, most bold statements ever said by a lead singer. I think to me that was one of those moments that was really impressive.
And obviously you remember when that interview came out.
I remember distinctly because I've talked to people about that moment. I just said there's no one like Mike Patton, because I mean just imagine, he could have easily, it would have been so much easier to say, yep, I get laid all the time. Chicks dig me, and I can't walk out of my door without getting my dick sucked. And that would have been so much easier to say. It would have been quote unquote cool for all the guys who were into the band, like, yeah, Patton's getting laid by all the chicks, woohoo! But I think that all the outcast people that are part of the Faith No More group, and maybe even some of the women, are like, wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing that you don't want to. Because here's the thing: getting laid in a rock band is like shooting fish in a barrel, and it's just honestly, it's an unfair advantage where you've got a young girl who's like totally enamored with the lead singer. And they basically are just giving themselves up because they just want a piece of that for a moment. And it's really, at its fundamental core, just a horrible thing, that when that's just like, Harvey Weinstein or people in power where they can just, try to have sex with these chicks because they're at a different power level. They're at a different place. It's not an even exchange where if you just meet a gal at a bar, you guys are one-on-one. Yeah, great. But Patton, people would do anything for him. And he could have, chicks, whatever, do whatever whatever he wanted, whatever his peccadillos were, he would have said, do this and do that. They would have been okay, but it would have been good, would have felt good for them, would have been an honest and, exchange. No, I don't think so. I think Patton's incredibly bold for doing that. I think that was really impressive.
Yeah. I just thought as far as that little freak occurrence where they kind of went pop culture for a minute, I thought might have affected that. But like you said, the people who love Faith No More and Mr. Bungle and Mike Patton, as far as, that goes, everybody probably liked him more.
Because I think that was exactly who Faith No More was. They were kind of originally like these kind of weird outcast art rockers trying to find their way through music. And, they were kind of just weirdos, they were, and I think that's really great that they were just like, no, we're not going to take advantage of some young, underage or some young girl who wants to just have sex with me because I'm singing, the song Epic. I mean, that's fucking crazy, And so I tip my hat to him for that. I think that was one of the more impressive moments.
Yeah, he's always kind of stood, There's certain singers that could have done all kinds of things and sold themselves out, and many guys would have done it differently, or like a Chris Cornell. You look at these guys that don't play that card, when they could have.
And to me, that's what's impressive.
Right.
That's true spirit when you could lay anybody in the audience and you're like, I know you're just fucking me because I'm having to sing some of your favorite songs, but it's just not an equal exchange. You'll do things because I'm a star, and that's not, you know. And I've talked to women who've done that where, yeah, stuff with so it didn't feel right, you know. But in the moment, I wanted to be, you know, to be with him. So. Yeah.
How is it as far as working with him? Is he improvising a lot, or did he kind of already have his parts hammered out?
His parts are hammered out. For Angel Dust, he had every single thing hammered out. He had like some kind of 4-track, or he had some kind of recording thing at his house, and he had it all mapped out. I mean, he walked in, he was absolutely prepared.
And do you do a lot of punching in to get those parts, or was it quick?
No, I mean, we had punch up, but he'd sing certain sections, like if he was singing more melodic, that'd go on one track, and then if you want to do the more crazier stuff, that'd go on a different track. So not so much punching, but a lot of building it. Like we built it, you know, very, very specifically, you know, and methodically. So.
Did he ever blow his voice out with the screaming stuff?
No. I have to say, he's the most unique thing I've ever met in my life. Where, you know, a couple times I see him at a show where he's like, you know, doing all that screaming stuff and yelling and everything he's doing, and I'd go, man, Patton, how's your voice? He goes, oh, I'm fine. You know, I mean, he would do everything. He would croon, he would scream, he'd do everything, and sure enough, at the end of the thing, he'd still have his voice and just be fine. And so he's literally built to sing. That guy is absolutely 100% built to sing and can croon in an R&B voice, go to full Cookie Monster, hamburger, metal, you know, screamo stuff, and back and forth without a problem. He's seriously built to sing. There's just like no one I've ever worked with before.
Wow. It doesn't do vocal exercises or any of that?
Nope.
Wow.
He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything, which is just mind-boggling. He just like steps up and there it goes, and there's no, I got to warm up. It's just like, okay, let's go. It's like, all right, do it. You know, I mean, he's just, he is seriously built to sing. He's got the throat, the chest, whatever it is, and his pitch is really good. Everything about him is absolutely. He is a singer, even though he won't admit it. He's always like, I'm not really a singer, or I should have been a singer, or I just kind of fell into it. I understand all that, but man, that guy is built to sing. He is an amazing vocalist. He uses his voice as an instrument, which very few people do. You know, he does all kinds of weird stuff with it, and it's just very inspiring. He's just pretty incredible.
Anything stand out from like the Jizz Lobber or Midlife Crisis or recording any of those songs, Land of Sunshine?
No, I mean, Jizz Lobber was obviously pretty heavy. That was Jim's song, so that was pretty dark and everything. Midlife Crisis, I just thought was an amazing song, and, you know, I just thought, man, that was kind of the poppiest thing they had on that record at that time. And I will say that I never anticipated seeing them play that song live 20, 25 years later, and the entire audience singing the entire chorus, where the band just stops playing and they sing the entire chorus. I was like, man, that's incredibly powerful, because that's not a straight up pop song, and the whole audience got it, and they sang all the lyrics, and it was just like really, really impressive.
What's the reason why you don't do King for a Day?
After doing Angel Dust, I said to the band, I said, you guys need a new producer, a new guitar player, or both. That record was brutal to make. It was really, truly, honestly brutal. I stopped producing for a couple months after that record because it was just all the infighting and the stress, and it was just really, really, really tough to put together. And I just felt like I've been with those guys since day one. I worked with them for like a decade, where we started in my parents' garage on 8-track. I felt like I took them as far as I could. I felt like they needed new blood as a producer, and I felt like, as a guitar player too. You know, I mean, that wasn't even my choice to make. That was their choice to make anyway. But I just said, you guys got to do something different, because it was really like grinding gears. That whole record was just brutal to make. So.
Wow. And was it just brutal, say, if there wasn't the tension with Jim? Is that record not that hard to make?
It was difficult to make because it was pretty far outside of my comfort zone. Trying to keep up with all the stuff they were trying to do, it wasn't really my milieu. And I mean, I did a good job, and I worked really hard at it, but it wasn't like an easy, like, oh, I get this. You know, it was like, oh shit. I mean, some of the stuff I totally get. Some stuff was like Malpractice and stuff like that, where it gets to be more bungly. I'm like, I'm not sure if I know what to do here, you know. But yeah, I mean, it just seemed like it was time for everyone to move on and do different things, you know. I mean, that was kind of my feeling.
Huh.
Like, it wasn't out of any ill will. I mean, you know, we still are friends, and I I still like them and hung out with them and stuff like that. But I just was like, I just felt like I'd taken them as far as I could. I didn't want to stymie them like on the next record. I didn't want to be the reason that they couldn't go further. I didn't want to be that guy where it's like, you're dragging me along because that's what we've always done out of habit. I wanted to be like, you should try something new and different. You guys are a vital band. You're really, really, you're really exciting. So maybe some new fresh blood could take them further.
And in retrospect, you still feel the same way?
Absolutely. I think that was the right decision. I think that I certainly got worn out just because it was incredibly stressful making Angel Dust. It was really, really, really stressful. So I just figured, just let them do their thing. I didn't want them to feel obligated. Like if they come back and said, we want you to do it, maybe I'd consider, but I just didn't want them to feel obligated. And I just felt like I did their first single, their 7-inch single. I did all their demo recordings. Prior to that, I did the demos for We Care a Lot. I did the We Care a Lot album. I did Introduce Yourself. I did The Real Thing, and I did Angel Dust. And I mixed Live at Brixton Academy. So I felt like, they got plenty of Matt Wallace in there. They should probably get someone, fresh who might be able to take them a little further.
On that Maroon 5 record on Songs About Jane, did you get that record based on your work with Faith No More, or how did that album come about for you?
That's an excellent question. I have no idea, because obviously, listening to Faith No More would not make anyone think that it's a good idea for me to do Maroon 5 Songs About Jane. I mean, I think I just was really persistent with Maroon 5. And, I'd worked on the first Train record by then, and I was just really, really persistent. What's his name? Mal Rogers was actually asked to work on the record, but the budget on that one, like Faith No More, was really low. It was like a 65 or 75 grand record. And Mal Rogers said, I can't make a record for that kind of money. And I said, I can make a record for that kind of money. And that's what we did. So, I think I was just very, very persistent, very driven, very determined. I was actually offered another gig at twice the money. And I took Maroon 5, which was, I took a 50% pay cut as a producer, because I was like, man, these are great songs, and I'm gonna do this. So that's what I did.
And as far as Adam Levine, what was it like recording his voice?
Oh, easy. I mean, he's an amazing singer. Doesn't have the range that Mike Patton has, but he's got incredible pitch. He knows exactly who he is, and when he steps up to the mic, it's like, he's really good. And we didn't tune any of that stuff we made the album. I know when they did some single mixes, I think they did some tuning for She Will Be Loved or This Love. But when we made that record, there's not a stitch of tuning on it. And he just sings it, and there it is. He's really impressive. He's really talented.
Or any recollection what vocal chain you used for him?
I was in a satellite room. It was actually the room that had the pool table at the Rumbo, and I think we had like a satellite, Pro Tools set up with probably like a Neve preamp and, probably a 414 or something like that. And, I can't remember. But again, it honestly, truly, 100% doesn't matter. That stuff just doesn't matter. It's just all about the vocalist and what he or she's singing about. You listen to the first 3 U2 records, that's Bono with a handheld 58. Those are not studio microphones. That's a live microphone, and he just wants to hold on to it and sing it. And you know what? All the way to the top, those are hit songs with him with a handheld 58. It just doesn't matter. I know that we all work so hard to get good gear, and we all get all anal about this chain and that chain. But the bottom line is, it's a guy or a gal stepping up to a microphone and spilling their guts. And if you believe the story and you love it, then you buy it. Listen to Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill. That's got digital distortion all over it. They recorded on ADAT for most of that record. And it sold like 15 million records in its debut. It just doesn't. That stuff truly, 100% doesn't matter. And I know people are going to be upset about hearing that, because people want to sell expensive equipment and stuff like that. But honestly, it's all about, it's 85% of it's the musicians and great songs, and then the rest of it's like, oh yeah, we'll make it sound a little better with a little better mic preamp or whatever it is. But that's just good, So.